Welcome back to Off Ball Takes. This is your host, Yarby Laws, and these are my co-hosts.
Christopher Wells.
Top notch.
We appreciate all the support on our recent content, and before we do get started, please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the OPT Podcast for more content and updates.
Yes, we're back at it again with another episode, getting close to the trade deadline, and now we actually have a couple of trades to talk about. Not necessarily major trades, but we'll begin by talking about the first big one that happened, right? And that's a three-team deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls, where the Cleveland Cavaliers traded forward Deandre Hunter to the Sacramento Kings for Dennis Schroder and Keon Ellis. So the Keon Ellis sweepstakes is finally over. He goes to Cleveland, and then the Bulls get back Dario Saric and two future second-round picks, I believe, one from the Kings and then one from the Cavs, right, which is interesting. So I guess when we look at the first breakdown, I'm cool with it for Cleveland, right, because if we look at their season, right, they've been hurt. Garland's been in and out. They don't really have any other on-ball guards other than, I guess, off the bench, Craig Porter Jr., and then Lonzo Ball was supposed to kind of be that, but he's not been very good this year. He looks like he might be close to being done. Just unfortunate because now he's healthy, but he can't make a shot. I don't think his defense is really the same either. So if he can't really give you much on either end of the floor, what is he going to give you? And at least with Dennis Schroder, right, he's a guy who's a veteran. He's been in a lot of big playoff games. He was in the playoffs last year with Detroit, right? So he's a feisty, competitive guy, so he can help them there. And then Keon Ellis, right, that's the guy in Sacramento that was in and out of the lineup, right, where you have all these other guards, right? The Kings were looking for a first-round pick, but no one was going to give it to them, right, because he's a solid player, but he's not necessarily somebody you're giving up a ton to get, right? And he can be a guy who can come off the bench, be like a POA guy, give them some more defense while hopefully giving them some three-point shooting. He's not shot the three ball well this year, but you just hope that now that he's going to get consistent minutes for Cleveland, that can probably trim out some of the fat from some of the guys who you probably don't want playing as much. So I'm cool with it for them. The Kings one is weird just because it's DeAndre Hunter, who I've never really been a huge fan of, but I guess at the same time, if you're the Kings, you say, well, we're getting back a wing. But it's weird because Cleveland, he was on the team last year on a 60-plus win team, right? He was on the Hawks, but he's actually had his worst year, right? He's averaging 14 a game, but he's shooting only 31% from three, 42 from the field. The fit just doesn't look as, quote-unquote, clean as you thought it might have compared to last year, right? And part of that's just he's not hitting his shots. He's always been a guy to me where I feel like the idea of him is better than what he actually is as a player because he kind of profiles as a long, athletic 3-and-D wing, but he's really not, right? He's more of a scoring forward, which is fine to have on your rotation, but if you're Cleveland, he's making over $20+ million a year, and they're a second apron team, and it hasn't worked out. They have been playing better as of late, so you hope that they can go on a run, but you knew at some point that they were going to have to probably free up some money. And you can do that with the guys that they brought in, right? Like Dennis Schroder's contract, even though I guess technically it's not an expiring at all, it is less money, and so is Keon Ellis. You'd imagine that they re-sign him too. So, like I said, when I look at the Cavs' perspective, like it for them. Kings are weird. Like I said, you just can't make heads or tails of anything that they do. I don't know why they were looking for a first, but they ended up having to give up picks in order to get off of Keon Ellis to take on DeAndre Hunter. That's kind of weird to me, and then shout out to the Bulls just for being able to get some second round picks. I believe they have to waive Javon Carter in order to make this deal work, right? So fine for the Bulls because you get draft picks back. Good for the Cavs because you get back some more guard depth, so that way it's not just Mitchell doing all the on-ball work if Garland's out, and even if Garland's healthy but not on the floor, that helps. And then you can move off Alonzo, probably just give up seconds or whatever to get off of him. But for the Kings, yeah, that's a weird one. That's a weird one because, but I feel like they have to be doing some more. But you can't apply logic to the Kings, right? Like they're a team where what you think makes sense may not necessarily make sense to them because how many moves have we liked from the Kings over the last couple of seasons other than when they put that team together that made the playoffs?
Yeah, them signing Russell Westbrook was their best move ever.
Yeah, and I mean, he's kind of just wasting away on a bad team, but I mean, yeah, and like that's no hate to Russ, bro, because he's been hooping this season. Like we love it, the energy, but my God, it's a pain to watch him on the Kings. But yeah, I guess to start with the Kings, I somewhat like it because Hunter's a young player, I guess, on the younger side of things. So there is upside depending on, what the team looks like in the next couple of years, because I think he has like 1 year remaining on the deal or whatever. So I think we'd be looking at like the 2027 Kings to see, what this move kind of entails. But I mean, realistically, what were they going to get for Schroder and Keon Ellis, right? Like that's the thing. I don't think it was going to net them a whole lot. So I would probably give like a grade of like a C for the Kings, but yeah, I don't really understand it, but at the same time, you still get a player in return. It's not like it was a garbage guy. Like Hunter's kind of sneaky underrated. So
Mm-hmm.
So how I look at this is the Kings front office don't know how to manage anything because they recently just signed Dennis Schroder. That was their biggest offseason move of getting him like a 3-year, $40+ million deal. And then you trade him 6 months later. Like that's just kind of crazy to me. And I get what you're saying, Yarby, like you don't know what you're gonna get out of it. But pretty much all trade season leading up to the trade deadline, they said, I want picks. I need picks for Keon Ellis. And it's like, okay, you don't even get nothing out. You get no draft capital out of none of this. So like even if they're in the position to get the first round pick according to Tankathon, it's like you want to build as much draft capital as possible because we know what this team is gonna be. Like they're a rebuilding team. So I don't like that. But what all the reports are saying is they like the DeAndre Hunter, Keegan Murray, like they like that as a future 6'7", 6'8" wings, which honestly does kind of sound intriguing. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm very interested to see how it is. Keegan has been hurt all year. So we're gonna see it soon. Like Keegan's gonna return from injury. Hunter's probably play not tonight, but probably the next game. And that means DeMar DeRozan's probably gonna get pushed off because you can't have DeMar, Keegan, and DeAndre Hunter. Like that's just goofy. You know what I mean? They do have a lot of young guys that they really trust right now. Nick Clifford, Dylan Cardwell. And unfortunately, I know this because I got to watch this team. But Maxine Raymond, they've been doing their things.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious to see what they do with Sabonis. And then for the Cavaliers, I love this move, man. Like the Cavaliers, they save about $50 million off in salary and tax savings this season, just getting off this contract, and they improved their roster. So the salary, the CBA helps with that, trading Hunter, who's having a down year, but you get a better backup point guard in Schroder because they brought in Lonzo Ball, which they traded for Okoro, and I thought that was an upgrade over Ty Jerome because I thought Lonzo Ball at the time was just better overall as a defender, playmaker. Because we see Ty Jerome, he was unplayable in the postseason, and it's funny looking back, none of them has really played well. Jerome's injured, Lonzo, but Schroder, it's funny. I've seen this thing with Schroder. He has a good year and then a bad year. Good year, bad year.
Yeah,
you seen that, right? And so right now it's according to have a good year when after he gets traded. So the Cavaliers are going to get something pesty and Schroder. We already know what he did to Luka. Scuffle him up out in the locker room. You ain't want that. You know what I mean? So I think that's it. Even with Schroeder struggling, he's still an upgrade over Lonzo. Even with him struggling, because he's still going to give you 13 points. He's still a ball handler. So when Garland been out, because Garland been out with a bunch of injuries this year, so he's going to help out Mitchell with ball duty. And then Keon Ellis, one of the underrated players in the league. The problem is they're making him like a lockdown defender. He's nowhere near that. He's a solid, good shooter. But W move for the Cavaliers and for the Chicago Bulls. I mean, they have like 7 second-round picks now that they can trade, flip, whatever the case may be.
That's
so
the method.
I think that's the method. Remember a few trade deadlines where they traded the Bucks traded like 5 second-round picks for like Crowder or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So have those second-round picks, man.
Yeah, I mean, for the Ellis thing, he's small, right? He's kind of an undersized guy, so it's like you really mainly want him guarding other smallish guards. You don't really want him guarding like bigger, more physical players. That's not really what he can do. Like Schroeder's another pesky defender where it's like, yeah, he's kind of a small guy. So, I mean, when you look at the Kings, it's like, okay, like if you told me that you were able to trade like Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis for DeAndre Hunter, I guess like that's in the aggregate, I guess, relatively fine. It's just funny because, like you all mentioned, right? It's like, what was the point of signing Dennis Schroeder? You signed him, then you signed Russ, but you knew that wasn't, I mean, they were on the same team together before, I guess, technically, in LA, but like just in general, like you knew long term that wasn't going to work, so you're going to have to move one of them. So what was the point? Yeah. But I guess like if you get DeAndre Hunter in the aggregate, it's okay, but I would need to see them do more. We already talked about it in our last episode. Kings are going to ideally if you want a decent trade deadline, move off of some of these other guys. Like, see if you can move Sabonis, move DeRozan. Levine, I don't know. I mean, he's got what, the player option for $49 million.
He's not going anywhere. They should be
Yeah,
moving.
so like,
they should be moving Russ and DeRozan. Those are the two guys that should.
yeah.
Be
So
Monk
yeah,
and Monk. Malik Monk gotta go. Malik Monk gotta go. Because like, bro, nothing against Monk. I think he's having a down year, but we've seen the year before. And if you really want to go young, can we play Devin Carter? People forgot about Devin Carter. He hasn't even played this year because you have 15 guards on the team.
Yeah.
Maybe now with Schroder being traded, he gets an opportunity, but Monk got to go. And let's go fully young. Let's see what these young guys got. You can't let these young talent rot on the bench. And then what if Devin Carter gets traded and then he turns into something? The Kings are going to correct that. So I think Monk got to go for sure. But I agree. Zach LaVine's not going nowhere. He's on a big contract. DeRozan's on expiring, I believe. So it makes it a little bit more easier. But yeah.
I think DeRozan, he's got like a little bit guaranteed for next year. It's just like I'm thinking like, yeah, move the vets. Because a guy like a DeRozan, like a playoff team that's kind of on the bubble could just be like, yeah, let's just bring him in since he makes like, what, $24 million or whatever. Same with like a Malik Monk. He could be a rotational guard for a playoff team because we saw him do it when the Kings were a playoff team. So that's how I would look at that one. So they're a team to watch at the deadline. We'll see if they actually do anything. Then we got a second deal. A little bit smaller in scope, but it is one where I do like it for one team, right? So the Blazers, they traded for Vit Krejci of the Atlanta Hawks, right? So Duop, Reith, and 2 future second-round picks are going to the Atlanta Hawks. I think Reith is hurt. He's got like a broken foot, so he's not playing at all this year. I like it for Portland just because you get some three-point shooting. They can't shoot. And, Krejci has had a good year. I don't think he's played as well recently, but just as like a quick thing, like for the Hawks, like I said, you get 2 seconds. Guess that allows them to do whatever they want. Maybe they bring in another big man or they cut Reith. I don't know. But for the Blazers, like I said, just some 3-point shooting. And I'm curious as to what the Blazers do at the deadline. That's another team we talked about where they could go in a couple of directions where they could move, like a Drew Holiday or a Robert Williams, or they could just kind of bring in a guy like a Krejci, do some small stuff just to kind of tune up the team a little bit. Because standings wise, they're the 9 seed, right? So like, I don't know whether or not they want to stay in the play-in race and make the playoffs potentially, or just kind of dial it back a little bit. But they do have some good players on there. It's just, again, no Scoot, hasn't played at all, unfortunately. So, but you've gotten some really good years out of Avdia and Kling and some of the other guys. So I like it for Portland. Atlanta, TBD, I guess. Like the 2 seconds are nice, but that, I don't know. It's kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
Not expected.
Yeah, I mean the Krejci guy. Here's what I got to say about him. Like percentage wise, I think he's like top 20% in the league. So
yeah,
or top 20 in the league. So shout out to him. Definitely a shooter. But I don't think this does. Yeah, I don't think this does enough. I think for Portland, I mean it's okay. Like it doesn't solve all their problems by any means. I think if they're able to flip a Holiday at the deadline, that would be freaking amazing. And for the Hawks, like you said, it's 2 second-round picks, but second-round picks have kind of got their value back a little bit. So, you can convert those into some interesting players, potentially in the future. So, if you have a good stockpile of that, can't hate on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Atlanta did this deal just because Corey Kispert has took over Krejci thing with the trade with the Wizards. And also it creates roster space, and they have 7 second-round picks at their disposal. I feel like everybody has 7 second-round picks at this point. But like you said, he's shooting well 42% for the 3, which ranks top 20 in the NBA. Portland's one of those teams that are very sneaky. If they are in the play-in push, I'm actually like the teams I want in the play-in this year, because like every year we watch the play-in. It's the Chicago Bulls versus the Miami Heat. I'm tired of watching the Chicago Bulls versus the Miami Heat. The Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat are in a play-in series right now in the regular season. They played 3 times this week. They're 1-1 right now, right? So then I'm tired of that. I want some new teams. Let's get the Charlotte Hornets in the play-in, right? This is what the play-in's for, right? Let's get Portland in there. When's the last time we seen Portland in the play-in outside of Dame, situation? You know what I mean? Like, let's get these fun teams in here. Like, so that's what I personally like. And then like listen, that's where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Atlanta, I'm curious to see what they do with their draft capital though, because like they've been rumored to players so far. I don't think they make moves, but maybe they do. Because I think they're building off Jalen Johnson, and maybe Onyeka Okongwu might be shipped off next. I don't like his fit next to Johnson. I really don't. Dyson Daniels can't shoot to save his life, but he's solid for sure. Good defender. Does all the little things and stuff like that. CJ McCollum's actually making the Hawks worse. It's kind of funny ever since he got there, making them worse. But I'm getting off topic right now. But you know what I'm saying? Solid move for Portland, and interesting to see what the Capitol does for Atlanta.
Yeah. Another story around the league that we hadn't talked about because it wasn't a thing the last time we recorded is Paul George, suspended for 25 games for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy. So it's big in a couple of ways because obviously with Paul George, right, if he's going to be out for 25 games, that means he's not coming back until pretty close to the end of the season, right? The Sixers are, as of this recording, the 27-21, right? So that's 48 games. So he's not coming back until basically what like game 72, 73 for Philly. So you're talking about the last stretch of the season, probably like late March, something like that. So that's a big deal because to be honest, right, like, he's not been bad, right? Like honestly, he's been a little bit better, I think, than you probably would have thought, right? Especially compared to last year. But now the thing was, we talked about it before we got on, right? He had like this one giant game where he had like 32 points, right? And like 20 in the third quarter or whatever it was, I think against the Bucks. Maybe it's because it's against the Bucks. But Philly's been kind of underrated, right? Because Joel Embiid, he's been playing really well, right? Like in the last month or so, he's been averaging over like 30 a game, 8 rebounds, over 4 assists. The three-point shooting's been kind of up and down, right? That's kind of been the only blemish. But outside of that, like, he's actually been kind of, 80, 85% or whatever of what Embiid was playing like before, right? Which is a good thing, right? And you still have Tyrese Maxey, you have VJ Edgecombe. So it's a loss for sure. The big thing financially, right, is that it allows Philly to kind of duck the tax a little bit, right? And that's kind of a big thing for them because they were projected to be a team that was probably going to have to move some guys just to save a little bit of money. But with him being out and having to miss, a decent amount of time, they may not have to do that, right? And Joel Embiid, actually, funny enough, was saying that the Sixers shouldn't do that, right? He basically said, quote, "We've been ducking the tax the last couple of years, so hopefully we keep the same team. I love all the guys that are here. I think we got a shot. I don't know what the front office is going to do, but I hope we get a chance to go out there and compete because we got a good group of guys in this locker room and the vibes are great," end quote. So that's kind of a big deal for them, and they should be a team you would think on paper like, hey, they're the 6th seed. You got Joel Embiid playing at the level he's playing. You got your backcourt. So maybe you do become a buyer at the deadline. I don't know what they would go after. You would think maybe like a 4 just to help with the rebounding, give them a little bit more size because there's a lot of times where they feel kind of small, right? Because it's basically Paul George at the 4, which I guess size-wise he's a 4, but functionally it's a little bit different. So I've kind of liked how they've played over the last month or so because this was a team where we didn't know what to expect going into the season. Like we took the over, but we still kind of had them as like sort of a middling team where it's like you just can't trust these guys to be healthy, which I'm still kind of there. But Embiid playing pretty consistently and playing at the level he's played at least gives me a little bit more hope. But the Paul George thing is not great because, I mean, that's a large chunk of time that he's going to have to miss. So I guess that just means more minutes for their other forwards, but still don't really want that because then he's going to be out of rhythm, right? He's not going to be playing, so he's not going to be in the same game shape. So no real good version of this, aside from, I guess, the tax thing, where maybe that helps them out at the deadline, which is less than a week away at this point.
Fishy to me. I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for a second. I know that they said in the statement, and he did as well, that it was like a improper medication, right? I don't even think they've disclosed what substance he took. But, the fact that the implication of this is going to be, ducking the tax, as you said, is kind of interesting to me. Just maybe put 2 and 2 together for those who are conspiracy theorists. But a little off topic. But at the end of the day, it's a 25-game suspension. I mean, he was having an interesting stretch, like you said. The 30-point game comes out of nowhere or whatever, but I think they'll live without him. I think they still have Oubre.
Yeah.
Depends on if, they decide to flip him or whatever at the deadline. I've heard, some rumors about that. But you do have to shout out Philly and the culture that they have. I think that's the thing that's keeping that team afloat, right? Shout out to Maxey. He's been doing incredible things. Shout out to VJ Edgecombe. Shout out to Embiid as well for having a bounce back year. So I think there's potential for them to, make some noise probably in like the first round of the playoffs or something like that. But long term, I don't think this is like a legit contender by any means. Their play isn't stellar enough for me to be confident in it, and especially their health.
Yeah, man, it'll be a mistake trading Kelly Oubre just to duck some more tax. I feel like he always been reliable for the 76ers. I mean, this year, shooting about 37% from the three-point line and giving you 14 points a game, 5 rebounds, which is very pretty good. He's been consistent throughout his career. One thing about Kelly Oubre, not the flashiest player, not the best player in the league, but he plays his role. And the crazy thing is, looking at every year of his stats, outside of his first 2 years, he averaged double digits, which is pretty impressive. This is the NBA at the end of the day, so it's tough. But I mean, his most recent game, he had 19 points and 10 rebounds. I think this is I'm not gonna say a perfect replacement for Paul George, but he can, manage these minutes and replace those 25 games without him. Hopefully they don't trade him, like I said, because I'm already hearing reports they're trying to trade Drummond, which makes absolutely no sense because they have no backup. But anyways, for Paul George, it's funny because
Guess you got Bona.
Yeah, and he's bad. He's really bad. They like him because he makes about $1.9 million and Drummond makes about $5 million. So that's why they like him. But for Paul George, man, listen, it's funny because like I'm not saying anything, but I am saying something at the same time. It's like you look at his numbers, right, in his recent games. It goes 10 points in 37 minutes of action, right? 4 for 9. Took 9 shots, okay. Then after that, against the Knicks, he had 9 points, 3 for 10. Then mysteriously, against the Bucks, I watched this game and I'm like, okay, Paul George has 20 points in the third quarter. I'm like, wow, you looking like Indiana, OKC, Paul George. Like he's hooping right now. 9 3-pointers made. Okay. Then there was a highlight where he's doing a 360 dunk. I'm like, is it 2016 right now? Like, I didn't know they're saying 2016 is the new 2026. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's what's happening, right? I'm like, okay, 15 points and then bang, breaking news. Just woke up, suspended 25 games. But now, trolling aside, I really do wish him. Like, I hope everything's going well for him because they said it's a mental thing. He was going through a lot. Like, I hope everything's well with Paul George. He'll come back game 72, so he have 10 games to really get back in game shape into the playoffs. Because you need time to get back in game shape in the playoffs. Yes. You got Yarby over here laughing. I don't know, smirking. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on over there. But realistically, though, I wish him the best. Paul George is on one of the worst contracts, though. Bro, this dude was injured last year, comes back this year injured, plays 27 games and then gets suspended. I don't know, man. It's bad.
It's a laughable situation, bro. That's why I'm laughing. Like,
the
downfall is crazy. What up?
It is. Let me ask you a question. Is this Paul George's last contract?
How many years do you have left? 3? 2?
I think he signed a 4-year deal, right? So
he should let me just confirm it. He had 2 years.
How old is he?
He is 35.
His last big contract. He's probably going to be taking minimums, bro.
This year. He's got $51 million this year, $54 million next season, and then in 27-28, player option for $57 million, which he will probably pick up. So, it's if he gets another contract, it's a small one, So he's not getting like
37 when this contract ends.
Yeah, right. He's not getting another big one.
So, and that was always the gamble at the time, like when they signed him to that big deal, because it's like, hey, he's had injury concerns and issues for a while now. What happens if he just isn't the same guy? Because he was pretty good his last year as a Clipper, right? Like, I mean, he was basically an all-star level player. And then it was probably not a great sign when the Clippers were like, well, they were going to give him multiple years, but not as long as Philly did. They were like, we're just going to do, what is it, like 2 or 3? That's it. We're not doing any more than that.
They made the right decision, by the way.
Right. So, yeah, that's the tough part for Philly there. But Yeah, it's weird. But like the funny thing with Oubre is honestly, he had been a guy that had been around a bunch of teams, but he's honestly been like the best version of himself in Philly, where it's like,
Yeah,
because in Washington and Phoenix and his other destinations, right, he was more so kind of like a scoring guy where it's like, yeah, you see the tools athletically, but he's not quite like an all around player. But he's been that, in Philly, where it's like, I would not want to just trade him for like peanuts just to dump him, especially with George out. Because like everybody said, like you're gonna need a good version of Oubre while Paul George is out. Because I mean, you don't have a lot of other players of that archetype.
Well, it's
Pretty
the
much.
contract, right? That's
Yeah, and it's
that's
a
good.
contract.
That's the thing. It's a very
Yeah,
movable
8
contract.
million.
Yeah, that's a
8 million.
movable contract that I think a lot of teams would probably see that as a high value player.
Yeah, 8 million for a guy that's like, could start on some teams and could be like a really good player off the bench for any team.
Exactly.
So like that's a really good deal.
You know who they need to trade? They need to trade Quentin Grimes. He sold the contract. He sold his contract so bad. Like, dude, remember the stretch he was on? He was giving you 30 a night with no Joel and no Tyrese.
Yep.
We knew that was. Yeah, we knew that wasn't gonna happen. He said, "Yo, I want 30+ million." You ain't even close worth $30 million, bro.
Yeah,
But
I just don't think he was ever getting that. I think it
Yeah.
was just like if he had gotten like 12 to 15 like MLE, I think he could have gotten that. I don't think he was ever getting 20 plus.
They need to trade him. He's been bad this year. I'll be honest with you. He hasn't been good.
What do you think of McCain? Because
Just
he's
as
kind of
bad.
he's had a down year compared to last year where he was kind of looked at as a rookie of the year type guy before he went down, but he's been kind of up and down this year. They've kind of been forced into playing him now with some of these guys out, but like numbers wise, it's been pretty rough, right? Because he was, like what, a super efficient guard last year. This year, he's below 40% from the field. He's 37% from three, which is cool, and he's down to 17 minutes a game. Just 35 games. I guess you could factor in the injury going into this year, but
there's no room on the roster, on the rotation.
yeah,
There's no room.
kind of took his spot. He
Yes.
snatched his chain basically, but like, yeah, Edgecombe is better.
Yeah,
So,
Edgecombe is better. He's gonna be better long term. So McCain's got to find a way to be a little bit more productive off the bench and make the most out of his new role. But yeah, that's kind of the way the NBA works, right? Like your job is not forever.
yeah, so I guess we might as well, because Top Notch mentioned it. We might as well. Can we talk about the Charlotte Hornets? I guess for a little bit.
Yeah, let me just say one thing about McCain. Let me
Yeah,
just
sure,
put
go
my
ahead.
camera down and let me put some TikTok videos on and let me start dancing because he gonna be like that in the next 5 years. He's gonna be the next TikTok star
All right.
because he ain't gonna be in the league, bro.
He's not washed and he's not bad by any means. I'm gonna defend my boy. He's
Hey.
got a bag. He can shoot. He's efficient. It's just a matter of he's on a bad team for him. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hey.
Like, it's a bad fit for him.
Nah, realistically though, he has been hooping the last 3 games.
Yeah, so
But he's
I
still
think
a
there's still a
TikTok
spot on a team for him, 100%. It's just I think the Edgecombe pick kind of limits his role on this team. Like it's just, and that's what happens sometimes, and that's why you draft. When you pick the best guy and not just fit. Imagine if they pick somebody else and they were like, "Well, we already have 2 guards in Maxey and McCain, so we don't need to pick Edgecombe. Let's pick someone else." Like, no, you pick the best guy available.
Yeah, imagine they pick Ace Bailey. Holy.
Yeah, I guess they could have, but yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, I'm saying that would have been bad for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we don't. Yeah, like they could have just picked a wing. It's like, nope. Yeah, no, we're good. Edgecombe is really good, and I think he's going to continue to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So, Charlotte Hornets, 6 wins in a row. They've had the best net rating in the league for an extended stretch right now, which is kind of insane, right? I mean, and it's funny. So for the last 15 games, net rating of 12.3, number 1 in offense, and then 5th in defense, which is kind of the wild part, right? Because this was a team where I think we all looked at them as we know they can score. We know they can light you up on the offensive end. But defensive rating being 5th is kind of insane. And then obviously net rating is also crazy as well because you would expect they'd probably be in a lot of close shootouts, not necessarily a bunch of games where they're just blowing teams off the floor. But they've been crazy good. And 8-2 in their last 10. They've made a run now. Now they've moved ahead of the Bucks, right? And they're the 11th spot, and they're only, a game and a half away from the 10 seed. And, this was kind of a team where it's like, yeah, this is kind of ideally where you would have hoped Charlotte would be this year, where the reason why we pick the over every year is we like the team, we like the talent, we like the players, but they're never healthy. And now we finally had an extended stretch where these guys are healthy, and when they have Ball, Miller, Knipple together, like they actually have a winning record, right? And they're like a plus positive in those minutes that they play together. So it's been pretty cool to see. And this is kind of why like we were kind of like, yeah, do we really need to trade LaMelo Ball right now? Like, why don't we just wait and finally see what it looks like when they're healthy? Because there's no reason that they should be awful. Like, yeah, they're not a top 10 team in the league at all, right? But like they should at least be fun. And now we're actually kind of seeing it realized where it's like, yeah, now that they've changed the ownership, right? And they've kind of cleaned up a lot of stuff. Like it's a really fun team. And like I said, it's a team where it's like, okay, could they finally make some noise and actually win a playing game? Because they were in the playing game, right? The first couple of years, I think LaMelo Ball was there, right? Like he was an all-star in year 2.
Yep.
But they couldn't win, right? They just got destroyed. And that's kind of the question is, let's see these guys in some real high stakes games. And like they've beaten some good teams. Like they destroyed Oklahoma City when they played them earlier in the season. Like it's not like they're just beating on a bunch of bad teams, but it doesn't matter because they were losing to a lot of those bad teams the last few years anyway. So it's good to see them pretty much getting everything right. And Knipple has basically like changed their lives, right? In the sense of like, that's a guy where I think we all liked the pick when he was drafted, but just seeing him like not just being ready right away day one, but also being really good, like 19 a game, 5 rebounds, just under 4 assists, 43% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. Just crazy because we saw him in Vegas, right? And I think in his first game he looked okay, but it's also like it's the summer league, and if you're not like an on the ball guard, like you're probably gonna look kind of weird. Like if you're a big in the summer league, it's not fun. It's just not, right? Because like you're playing with a bunch of guys where they're just gonna kind of get their own, and it's not a good situation to be in. But like I said, shout out to them, and they just beat the Spurs. That's another good team. Like I said, they've already won 6 in a row, so just shout out to them. It's awesome, right? It's awesome to see some good basketball in Charlotte. And I really do want to see whether or not they could make a late push in the play-in or playoffs because the East is weird. I mean, like, you look at the bottom half of the Eastern bracket, it's like it's a bunch of teams that are like barely over 500. Some of those teams I think could be better and make a late push. But some of these other teams, like, I mean, could Charlotte pass Atlanta? Like, they could. Could they pass Chicago? They could. So, it's possible. It's just a matter of whether or not they can get in the top 8. That might be a little bit tough. But they feel like they should be in the play-in.
Yeah. Shout out to Charlotte. One of the more fun teams to watch, obviously. Always has been, to be honest. Like, especially, ever since LaMelo Ball showed up. But I think you have to give Con Knipple and Brandon Miller their flowers. Those are the two guys that I'm looking at this team, and I'm like, wow, the progression is crazy. Obviously, you got to start with Con Knipple. Super efficient. People declare him, the best shooter in the draft. I think it's between him and Trey Johnson. But the volume that this guy is shooting at is crazy, and the efficiency is just it's all there. It's full package for sure. And I think people kind of wrote him off because of his play style. It wasn't, flashy by any means. He's just a bucket getter, right? Like, and he was at Duke, and I think that's why, he went so high, and obviously that's why Charlotte picked him. And then there's Brandon Miller, who's kind of continuing what he was doing last year, but this year he's been relatively healthier. Has missed time here and there, but he's looking like the number 2 pick or former number 2 pick, whatever. And the athleticism is there, the shooting ability. Both these guys, they play so well, and I think having a guy like LaMelo where he can be a facilitator when he really wants to. When there's serious ball going on, he can get the ball around and find guys at the right spot. So I think they're just missing a couple things that, on the defensive side of the ball that could make them a legit, team in the Eastern Conference. But at the moment, they're super fun to watch, and it starts with those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Hornets over their last 15 games, they're 10-5. They're first in like every stat that you could think of: an offensive rating, net rating, plus minus, rebound percentage, and first and second chance points, opponents free throws made, second in NBA in opponent field goal percentage, and second NBA in true shooting percentage. I think another big thing too is, you brought it up before. their wins, they beat the Thunder, they beat the Spurs, they beat the Nuggets, they beat the Lakers, the 76ers, the Orlando Magic. Like, those are all contenders in some type of way. So you love to see that. And Brandon Miller's just having a breakout stretch right now. I mean, this dude, like, if you go to his last, like, 12, 15 games, 26, 23, 26, 30, 20, 20, 24, 28, 26, and he's all efficient from the field outside of his last game against the Spurs. But, Con Canepo has been playing well. Their starting lineup of Dubate, I can never say his name, Musa Dubate, but they're 11-1 when they start Melo, Con Canepo, Miller, Bridges, and him. So they're fun. They're fun right now. Definitely new ever in Charlotte. Hopefully they're in the play, and I think they probably will be. But one of easily the hottest team in the league, and hopefully they can keep it up. And the last thing I will say is too. One thing I noticed, I think Charles Lee's a terrible coach. I'm gonna get that straight. I really believe that. But what they're doing with LaMelo Ball is kind of smart. LaMelo Ball last year was averaging 32 minutes a game. The problem with LaMelo Ball is he can't play as long because he has ankle problems. Like that, his ankles are cooked. What they're doing this year is they're giving him less minutes, but less sometimes seems bad, but it's not bad for Melo. They cut down his minutes to about 27. And that's for a reason. So he can stay healthy throughout the season. That's what they're hoping, at least. Right. And so far, he has. Last year, he played 47 games. This year, he's on the pace of playing like 60 plus. He's playing 40 games this year. So he's going to pass the last since 21, he played 75 games. Ever since then, he played 36, 22, and 47. So he's already at 40. So you already like to see that because he's the snake of this, in my opinion. Like he controls this offense. He gets everybody going, and him being there will be good. And I don't think he gets traded now. I think they wait, and obviously he just there's no point in trading him. That just you're just trading it one of your top young players in the league, even though he has flaws. Every young player has flaws.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you mentioned in terms of like managing his minutes and his workload. They had a couple of games where it's like, oh, it's a back-to-back, so we're going to bring him off the bench too and play him less minutes. And like per 36, it's about in line with what he's been doing. He's not shooting the ball that well. But the good news is that I guess you have other guys that can help you out on the offensive end. Like, so that way it's not him taking like 20 plus shots a game, 10 threes a game. And that's where you're going to get kind of closer to the bad version of him, right? Where it's like, yeah, he'll make a lot of good passes, but a lot of shots that you probably should just kind of eliminate at times. More opportunities for some of these other players to get up and down. So I mean, basically, like you mentioned, if they're essentially at the top of the league, like in all these stats, they've basically been like the best team for like 15 plus games, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, like that's basically what you're talking about here, right? Over the course of the entire season, are they the best team in the league? No, but just an extended stretch where, it's been pretty cool to see them. And yeah, I guess in terms of their approach at the deadline, like I probably just wouldn't really touch anything, right? Like I just don't think that there's really any real reason to break anything up. Like just continue to roll, see what you got, and try to make the play in. And like I think they can make the play in. It's just a matter of which team is going to fall out if we believe that they're going to get in there. So
yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see up and coming teams come out of nowhere, man. I think that's what makes the league fun because like we're so used to, okay, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Lakers, right? But this year it's like, oh, we got the Pistons, right? Like, oh, we got the Spurs, right? We got the Suns. The Suns been in pictures, but like we didn't expect this roster,
right.
So I like to see that, right? Like I like to see the downfall of the Golden State Warriors, the downfall of the Lakers, because it's happening. Houston Rockets, even though they're in fourth seed, I still just, hot take, Houston is getting eliminated first round.
Whoa, let's calm down, buddy. KD's not going.
They're matched up with Minnesota currently.
KD's not going outside. Respectfully.
Minnesota, well, KD been going outside ever since Curry left him, but that's another discussion. He's been going outside as well.
Yeah, he's been going outside his whole career. Anyways, what's up?
Listen, I know this is for far out, and I'm sure we do playoff predictions.
Yeah.
Houston versus Minnesota right now. They both been mid. Let's get that straight. They both been mid. They have.
Yeah.
But I trust Minnesota over Houston right now.
No.
Just saying.
I'm taking Houston.
Of course you are.
Yeah, got to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sengun hasn't been good since
I think
he
the
got
main
in.
thing we got to see is we got to see what they do at the deadline. Like, does Minnesota get a guard? Does Houston get a guard? That's really the question.
They
Because,
both
like,
want
say,
Kobe White. It's
yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. So,
They
like, if
do.
one
They
of those,
do.
yeah, if one of those teams gets the guard, I think whichever team gets the guard is going to win that series, right? But if they're as presently constructed, I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. I mean, but we'll see. So, I guess another thing that we might as well talk about, Jokic, he's back. Came back, played against the Clippers, played against Zubac, had 31 in limited minutes. And this is funny. This is crazy because the Nuggets, we all said when he first went down that they're headed towards the play-in. Like they're probably going to fall into the play-in. And it's a matter of can they get out of it by the time he comes back? The answer is actually it's the opposite. They never fell into the play-in. They never fell at all. They basically stayed at the 3 seed since he went down. They just moved up to 2 because the Spurs lost to the Hornets the other day. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Just one of those wins was when Jokic came back, and basically they were able to stay about 500ish or so, a little bit better than that, I think, while he was out. And big part of that is Murray being an all-star, Peyton Watson kind of just coming up where he's had a career year in a contract year, which is kind of insane, right? He was, I think we talked about it in our last episode, he was the Western Conference Player of the Week at one point, which if you had to ask me a player that I would expect to be Western Conference Player of the Week, it would not have been him. 15 a game on the season, 5 rebounds, just under 50 from the field, over 40 from 3, on just under 4 attempts a game. And that's with, it's not just Jokic that's been out, right? Like there have been games where Murray was out. There have been games, Cam Johnson hasn't played in forever, right? Kind of interesting to revisit that trade, but you do it, I guess, to kind of give yourself more flexibility. And Gordon's been in and out, and he just got hurt again, right? Like right before Jokic was on his way back, Gordon got hurt against the Bucks, and he's going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks, right? And that was my team that I picked to win it all, because I liked a lot of the additions they made in the offseason, and I thought they'd be better. Their 2 best players are having career years. Then you got Peyton Watson who's having a career year. So we haven't even really seen the final form of this team yet. It's scary because, like I said, we all thought they were going to be in the play-in. They're a 2 seed. Now, to be fair, standings-wise, everything is still very close. Like the Suns are like, what? They have 3 more losses than the Nuggets. They're like 3 games back. I wouldn't expect the Suns to be a top 3 seed, who've also been great as well. But just you would assume now that Jokic is back, even with some of these other guys in and out, there should be a little bit more stability. And now we're just going to kind of get to see what they look like in the second half of the season, where hopefully some of these guys will eventually work their way back in. I don't like them having a ton of injuries this season. I just don't really love that, like when I'm picking a team to win the title. But at the same time, if they're not going to drop, and hopefully if they can get healthy, like that's going to be a tough out in the playoffs, especially if they can stay in that top 3 and have home court, for a decent chunk of the postseason. So pretty much liking everything they've been doing. Adelman's been really good for them. I mean, like if you're going to have a bunch of guys in and out of the lineup, like you need a guy who can kind of help bridge all the gaps and kind of get everything focused and together. And guys who were just like, is Jalen Pickett or Jalen Pickett good? Like he's been okay, right? Even like an occasional Zeke Naji, who is, I don't know, he's kind of weird, but at the same time, like they're making some of these guys a little bit more playable than I think you would have expected, which is what has to happen when all these guys, are in and out of the lineup the way they've been. It's crazy, honestly. Like because I just didn't expect that at all, and I do think this is the best team that Jokic has had, and we'll get to see that come playoff time, assuming these guys are healthy.
Yeah, the next man up mentality, I think, on this team has just been amazing, and obviously the internal development, especially with Peyton Watson, right? It's with guys like Christian Brown out, Aaron Gordon out as well, but then Tim Hardaway Jr. having a great season. I think everything has just come together for this team in the best way possible. It sucks that we haven't really seen them at full power, like you said, with all the guys in and out, and even Jokic as well. But shout out to him for returning and having a great game. I think they play the Thunder coming up pretty soon, so that should be one to watch. Right. Yeah, exactly. So that should be one to watch. But yeah, I mean, we love their offseason, and obviously you loved it enough to pick them to win the title. So I think they're on pace for sure. I think it's possible. I just need to see them healthy before the playoffs, honestly. So.
So I have a question more for y'all guys. So does this make does this make Jokic less valuable, or does this make it more valuable, or does so I'm trying to figure out SGA Jokic because OKC has been struggling, but Denver hasn't without Jokic. So does this help the case for Jokic, or does this help the case for SGA for MVP in a sense?
I think the main thing is because Jokic, he can't miss too many more games before he loses it. I think the fact that SGA has been playing and their record is still really good, and they've, to be fair, have had a bunch of injuries as well. So I think SGA is still probably the favorite to win the MVP with Jokic missing all that time. And like you said, with them holding on while he's been out, probably hurts his case. But at the same time, it's like, we know he's the best player, right? Like we know that the big part of like that when he's out there, they don't lose a lot of games. So I would say it probably hurts his case like a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like as long as SGA is like reasonably healthy and he doesn't miss time, I feel like at this point he probably is going to secure it. Just because I think the injuries kind of took away some of the opportunities for maybe some of these other guys. And like OKC is still 5 games ahead. Now, if you're telling me by the time the playoffs come in, Denver's barely behind Oklahoma City, like if it's still like a 2-3 game gap, then he could take it. But I would still probably say SGA is the favorite right now. Because like I said, to be fair, they've had a bunch of injuries as well. And I think that's been partly contributing to why they've been kind of up and down.
From an MVP perspective, I think it helps Shea, obviously. And I think Shea's been playing better than last year, in my opinion, more efficient.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of runs away with it at this point. But in terms of like, their one-on-one value, I don't think it really does anything but raise the stock for the other guys on Denver. Like, shout out to Jamal Murray. Didn't even really mention him.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, just because I'm like, these dudes are going to be in the MVP conversation every single year, no matter what. You know what I mean? So this conversation is going to be here next season, then the next season after that. Like they're the best 2 guys in the NBA. You know what I mean? So just curious, but yeah, I mean, Denver Nuggets been amazing. The fact that they stayed intact without your best player, it just shows you they had a great offseason because Tim Hardaway Jr. has been amazing. Jonas Valanciunas is a great backup big. The crazy thing is he got injured after Jokic got injured, and they still found ways to win with Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson. There was a lineup one night where I'm watching Denver have Jalen Pickett, Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson, Julian Schroder, and somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And they won the game. And
I
I'm
think
just
that was
like,
the Bucks game, right? Because Gordon got hurt.
I think possibly. I know it wasn't. So it's like that's just crazy. So you have your third strings winning games because your second strings are pretty much hurt as well, and you just got. And that just tells you they made the right decision with firing Mike Malone. Harsh reality. Mike Malone won them a championship. I think he's a great head coach. But Oudeman has been awesome for them, right? Got them to Game 7 against Oklahoma City Thunder, and maybe I'm biased because Russ was on the team. I think if Aaron Gordon and they never got hurt, he had that hamstring injury. Maybe they close that game and win that and go to the third round. But this year they come out even better. So shout out to him. Off topic, by the way, very random because I know we made a video about this. The All-Star Reserves is about to come out in 40 plus minutes, and I'm very excited about that.
It's today? Oh wow!
It's today at 6:00. And I know we made our predictions, and if we recorded later, we could have probably talked about it. We'll talk about next episode. But just curious, who's your final prediction to get in these reserves? On top of your head, or whatever the case may be, who's your final predictions? Because I think we're gonna have some upset people. We're gonna have some happy people. I know I'm making a video on it because if Norman Powell's not there, my fist go right through this phone.
So what I remember from my West picks, I think it was Chet, it was Murray, it was Durant and Şengün, it was Randall, I think I had Booker, and then I also had Denny Avdia. I think that was what I had in the Western Conference, and then in the East, I believe I had Duren, I had Towns, I think I had Barnes, and then Mitchell, and then I think I had Powell. And then I also had Jalen Johnson. and then I had MPJ, and I think that's what I had. Pretty sure, unless I'm like leaving out somebody.
Yeah, I think I had Şengün. I had Jamal Murray. I think Avdia. I think I had like Mine was all over the place. I had like Brandon
Yeah, you had like
Ingram.
Steph, I think, as like your
Yeah,
last one.
I had Steph as a reserve. I had Brandon Ingram. So mine was all over the place, but
Anthony Edwards is obviously a reserve.
yeah, should be a starter. That's why I had
Yeah,
them swapped. That was my
think
list.
you know what it was. I had Ant as a starter, and I had Wemby as the reserve. That's what I had. That was the one guy I missed. That's what.
Yeah. So I want to kind of get. I don't even really want to get goofy because this is like. I'll be honest with you. Like I don't know if it's obviously too late to vote because the reserves come out.
Yeah, and coaches do that anyways.
Yeah, but Dylan Brooks will be in the All-Star game this year. I don't care what anybody says. He will be in the All-Star game this year and not be off of reserve, an injury reserve. Somebody's going to be out, and he's going to replace them. I think it was too late for him to get into the reserves. If he was playing like how he was playing recently, where he's giving you 30 points a game, he's a reserve for sure. Norman Powell's a reserve for me. Denny Avdia is a reserve for sure. Şengün, he's a bum, but he's a reserve. I'm playing. He's been good. I'm trolling, but he has been bad lately, though. He has been bad.
It happens.
And so I'm looking forward to this, man. You know what I mean? I think the reserves is better than the All-Star starters because we kind of already know the starters.
Yeah, they already revealed those a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but even like I'm saying, like even before they revealed them, like we probably have like a good, we already know kind of what's up with that. I think the reserve, the interesting part. So
yeah, starters wise, I think I had like a couple of guys. I think I had them mostly right. I think the only difference was Wemby was a starter. I had him as a reserve. I think that was the only thing that I had that was different.
Yeah,
LeBron
I mean,
should not be an All-Star this year.
It's funny. I just got a tweet that it's a favorite that he is.
I know he's gonna be one, but he shouldn't.
Yeah, but the only thing is that it's happened before, with other players. So it's like there's not much you can do about that.
Numbers wise, he shouldn't be. Impact wise, yes, please.
Yeah, but like we had like Dirk as an All-Star in his last year. He averaged like 8-9 points a game. He had Wade, who was an All-Star, I think his last year. Even Kobe his last few years, I think, was an All-Star. Yeah. Even Jordan, I think, in his last year. But none of us had him as an All-Star, I don't think.
Yeah. So I know you wanted me to do a quick topic about Giannis. I'll make it quick and stuff. So this Giannis stuff, I just seen a thing. Doc Rivers was talking to ESPN, pretty much saying, "Oh, Giannis isn't going anywhere. He loves the Bucks." Now I'm gonna be honest with you. As a head coach, you're supposed to say that. You're not gonna be like, "Well, we don't know." Da da da. You're supposed to say that. Giannis is traded. Doc Rivers is being delusional because Doc Rivers is gonna be fired after the season. Let's get that straight. Doc Rivers needs to stop being a head coach. Teams need to stop hiring that dude. He's a fraud coach. It's just really simple. But Giannis, the top destinations, in my opinion, is the Golden State Warriors because they have tradable picks. But you know what? I want to be different than everybody else, and I'm gonna go different teams because I feel like everybody else has been talking about the same teams, right? So I'm gonna be a little bit different. The Houston Rockets, and I'm gonna tell you why. Houston Rockets have 5 first-round picks they can trade right now. They also have Jabari Smith, who they can flip. Who Jabari Smith has been bad this year, recently, right? You have Şengün. You're not trading Thompson, right? But you have the pieces. You have Tari Eason. So the Bucks is going to like every player that I just named because they'll be better than anybody on that roster currently right now outside of Giannis, right? So Houston is interesting. The problem with Houston is they don't get the deal done at the trade deadline. They're going to get the deal done in the offseason because you know why? They're going to say, okay, they're going to get bounced out in the first round of Minnesota, like I said. They're going to be like, we all know we made a winning move to trade for Kevin Durant, or sign Kevin Durant, whatever the case is. We need to win now. So we know what we got. We can't wait for the young talent to develop. Let's make a move for Giannis. They have very, very, very good picks, right?
Yeah.
San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs as well. They're going to wait to the offseason. They're going to be like, okay, how far did we go? What players can we move? Well, they can move Keldon Johnson. They can move Devin Vassell, right? They can move Harper. Don't see it doing it, but if they're going to move somebody, they're going to move Harper before Castle. Just throwing the players out there. Not saying they will. But if this team gets out early, after the year they had, you can put that in question as well. I think Giannis and Wemby would be just insane. You know what I mean? Imagine having Giannis, Wemby, and Cornet in your lineup just cause.
Cornet, bro. You just laid out the perfect template for that dragon meme where it's like the 3 dragons and then one is making a goofy face. Why'd you say Cornet? But I understand what you're saying. That is a tall lineup.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the Spurs, the Rockets are interesting options. Lastly, the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. I think the Atlanta Hawks could get Giannis right now over anybody if they trade Jalen Johnson.
They're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it, but the problem is they should. Jalen Johnson is overrated. I'm gonna be honest with you. No one's going to like it. Okay. No one's going to like that. That's fine. I think people just look at Jalen Johnson's numbers. They don't actually watch him play. He's not a good defender, and that's why they traded Trae Young, because Trae Young and Johnson are not good defenders. So you're going to choose Jalen Johnson over Trae Young. Simple as that. Yeah. He's not a good defender. For his size and height, he needs to be a better defender than what he is. Also, his shooting ability to me is not the greatest, right? Like, he's a good driver, gets buckets, he can give you the triple-double. It kind of reminds me where, like, people are so amazed. Oh, my God, he had 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. And they lost, and he had a negative 15 plus-minus rating. So, like, those numbers don't always necessarily mean he's doing it in a good way. You know what I mean? He's on a great example. This is perfect. Great example. Just yesterday against the Pacers, he had 33 points. Oh, my goodness. 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. They lost to the worst team in the league, and he took 29 shots. He had 4 turnovers. It's the thing. Those things matter to me. You put up 33 points and took 29 shots. That's not good at all. And he does this a lot. So, yes, you want to build off Johnson? Cool. I'm just saying Giannis is a proven player, won a championship, won MVPs, won this, can change that whole team around right now. So those would be my 3 options. Mm-hmm. I want to go outside the box. Fine. You don't want to trade Johnson? Let's trade the fraudest number 1 pick in the world, Zachary Richardson. Let's trade him away. He is the fraudest number 1 pick ever.
Oh man, I didn't have him mocked as number 1. I did not.
But I'm glad you brought up the Houston point, because when we did our initially honest reaction, to the news or whatever, I was like, that's the dark horse. Like, they could come out of nowhere and just make a Godfather offer where the Bucks are just forced to take that one, because I'm telling you, the Knicks, they have a good package. The Warriors package, I freaking hate it. I hate it. I know you're not selling me on that package. I can't do it.
You know what it is, Yarby? It's because of the 31 pick where they know the Warriors will be bad.
I know.
That's what they're banking on. Yeah,
but you have Giannis though.
No, I think Giannis doesn't sign an extension. I think he leaves with Curry.
Oh, wow. So when Curry leaves, Giannis is just gone?
Yeah, like because retired or goes as in leaves.
No, he gets traded or he leaves. Okay. The reason why I say that is because look, Giannis still has 2 years left on his deal. Mm-hmm. So say if Giannis gets traded at the deadline at the Warriors, so he will have this whole season, and then 2 seasons after, Steph Curry will be a free agent in 28. And I think Curry retires at that time.
Yeah. I mean, the argument for the Warriors, if you're going to make that argument, if you're going to pitch the Bucks front office to take that offer, the argument is basically almost kind of like OKC and the Clippers, where you're just banking on that the Warriors aren't going to be as good as people think, getting Giannis to pair with Steph, and then by the end, it doesn't work out, and then you get a couple lottery picks out of it. It's not players. You can't sell me on the Warriors' young players. Like, you can't sell me on Kuminga. You can't sell me on like Jimmy Butler coming off a torn ACL, and then you have to flip him, or what's been coming around recently is Draymond, right? Because he was on his podcast, or he was asked about it, where he's responding almost in a way where like he might actually think he could be moved. But that's the one where it's like, okay, maybe you could flip him to a contending team. But like just in general, you know how I feel. I don't love that package. I think that's more like a media conversation thing, but I could be wrong, right? Like if you're making the argument of he needs to be moved at the deadline, like how many other teams can offer the picks? Not many. What was the other one? Brooklyn, where it was like they could offer 10 picks or something.
Would you do that?
Yeah. I would do it in a heartbeat.
But the thing is that like if I'm Giannis, because where he wants to go somewhat matters. Why would I want to go to Brooklyn? Like, I mean, unless they're gonna sell you on, if you come here, we're gonna get someone else to come with you, because it can't be Giannis and then the Nets' young picks. Like, no, you can't have Giannis with Yaleman and Clowney and whoever else is on the roster, right?
Wait,
like
is
all
that
the guys.
how you pronounce his name? I thought it was demeaning.
It's Yaleman.
Wow,
It's like Yegor Yaleman.
that's crazy.
Really? I've been calling him Jaeger Dent. I can't. I can't.
That's what we thought initially. But when I'd watched some Nets games over the course of this season, they said that. And then other people around the league have said it too. So that's how it's pronounced.
Well, at BYU, I swear they called him demean.
Yeah, but it's Yegor Yaleman.
Whatever.
Well, let me ask you this: if Giannis does get traded to Brooklyn, are they better than Milwaukee?
Does what?
If Giannis gets traded to Brooklyn, are they already better than Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
if Michael Porter Jr. stays.
Okay, fair.
And Cam Thomas.
Bucks have 18.
Because who's in the deal? Because you would have to figure that out. Is Cam Thomas in the deal? Is
Cam
MPJ?
Thomas will be in the deal.
Okay, so
yeah,
no Cam Thomas. What else?
Because you got to get the salaries to work. If you're going to,
the problem.
Do at the deadline.
Bro, I'll be honest with you. Who has massive salary? That dude. Because like outside of, I'm gonna look at the payroll right now.
The Warriors and
you have to throw Claxton and Terrence Mann to get the contracts to work.
I'm doing that in a heartbeat, and they're still better than Milwaukee. Milwaukee's hot garbage.
Does that actually match Giannis's salary?
Cam Thomas, Terrence Mann.
No, so Terrence Mann, so Claxton's about 25 mil.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then Terrence Mann is about 16, 15 mil.
Okay, so that's like 41. Okay.
Yeah, and then if you want to throw Thomas, he gives you 6 mil.
Throw Cam Thomas is the throw-in. Oh man. But
that sounds like a green light to me. I'm taking that.
Yeah, it really it comes down to
first round picks. Yes, I'm taking that.
Yeah, and they have some picks that are from other teams, because like if you're a team where you just, because that's like the argument for the Spurs and the Rockets, right? Is that they don't just have their own picks, they have other teams' picks that could be good, right? So like that's the pitch that you make. Whereas if it's a team like, the Warriors or the Knicks, they traded a lot of their other picks for Bridges. If it's like those teams, it's more so like it's our own picks that we have to give you, where we're gonna be good with Giannis. So those picks are going to be middling anyways. But if you're the Bucks, you don't have a lot of picks. So can you even really complain about like, oh man, we only got like the 17th, 18th, 19th pick in the draft? It's like, well, it's either that or no picks. So that's kind of the tricky part. So Top Notch, do you think he gets traded at the deadline or in the summer?
So this is the tough part about it. It's because as a content creator, I want him traded now. The reason why I want him traded now also is because more trades will happen. If Giannis is traded now, I think you're going to see 10 trades pop up. Right. Him not being traded now and waiting to the offseason, this is probably going to be one of the worst trade deadlines ever, because teams are going to be like, okay, fine. We know he's available in the offseason. We're going to save our draft capital to the offseason, and that's where it makes the Knicks more valuable, the Miami Heat more valuable, because they have 2 first-round picks they can only trade now. The offseason, they have 4, right? The Rockets, the Spurs. So there's going to be way more options. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm waiting to the offseason. The problem is Giannis can't get his max extension. He has to be traded before the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. That max extension is like a lot of money. He can't sign that. So that's why it's 50-50. And that's why people say he could get traded, because if he's pushing it, I need my money, and I need to be traded now, the front office might be forced to do it. And I think that's where the Golden State Warriors are probably the more aggressive team, and they might take the offer because they're pressured. But because the thing is with Giannis, and this is one thing I'm disliking about Giannis, he's trying to play good guy in front of the media. I never requested a trade. Well, I want to win in Milwaukee. Bro, if you request a trade, we don't look at you different. We want you to win. Well, some people want you to win as well. We're not going to be like, oh, you're a traitor because you requested a trade. No, brother. No one's going to look at you that. But he's trying to play the good guy act, and it's annoying. You know what I mean? Because it's like he changes his mind every day. I want to stay in Milwaukee. Next game. I don't know. We got to figure things out. Next game, they win. Yeah, Milwaukee's home. Stop changing your mind, bro. Like, you know what I mean? He's so.
Yeah,
I think he gets realistically off season, hoping now.
Yeah. I mean, I said deadline just only because, and like you said, it's kind of it may be more likely in the summer. I just felt like just with all that coming out, it'd be kind of hard to just not have it happen and then just go back and just be like, everybody's asking like, hey, so do you still want out of Milwaukee and all this other stuff? But realistically, it would be easier to do it in the summer. And like you said, you made a great point that I don't think we talked about in the last episode, but we've said it in previous years where teams are going to come out of the playoffs disappointed and they're going to look at themselves and they're going to say, all right, we're not quite as good as we thought. We're not quite where we want to be. So let's make a move, in the summer. Like you said, if a team like the Spurs or Houston or someone else gets bounced out in the first round, that's going to change their line of thinking versus if they actually go further and they go, maybe to the conference finals or whatever, right? So that's a great point too, where we have to see where some of these teams are coming out of the playoffs, right? Because every year there will be disappointed teams, right? As we've seen. So that's a great point, I think.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say,
yeah.
Roy Hachimura said he'd go to the bench. We talked about this a few weeks ago. He said he'd go to the bench.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the article that came out. Yeah. Well, it's the timing though is funny, right? Because it's he's looking hopefully for an extension or a new contract. So is that kind of like, is there some type of motivation behind there? Is he going to still be on the team? Who knows? But yeah, that's a good point. That's a good one. So we'll close it out like we usually do. And we'll start with a little bit of polling, right? So the last one that we put out was we asked everybody right on IG. We asked the question of where will Giannis be next season, right? So so it wasn't even a deadline or anything. So it was, the options were Heat, Knicks, Warriors, somewhere else, right? So 50% said Knicks, 33% said Warriors, 17% said somewhere else, 0% said Miami Heat. What do we think?
I love our fan base because they're all picking the Knicks, and that's the right choice. That's the only choice here. It's his preferred destination. They're going to work, I think day and night to get this deal done. Could happen at the deadline, might not. Probably happens in the offseason, but we'll see what happens. But I love these results.
Yeah, I don't love these results. These fans are delusional. Bro's talking about 0% to Miami. When Miami has one of the better trade packages in the league, 4 tradable first round picks, Tyler Hero, Kel'el Weir, Jaime. I mean, those players alone are all better than what Milwaukee got. So I think they're delusional. I think those are all Knicks fans. It's cool. We all want to build a dream of, Jalen Brunson and Giannis. Would that be fun? Sure, it will be. But I don't think it happens because the Knicks have nothing to give up. If they want to flip a McHale, they have to trade it to Portland just to try to get some picks. It has to be a 3-team deal. It's a lot of work. And then for Portland, it's like, why would I trade the Bucks pick knowing Giannis is going to get traded, meaning we're going to get value off that pick? So I think it's too hard for the Knicks to get the deal done unless they get desperate and they trade everybody for this dude, which I don't see them doing because, I mean, they turned it around, right? They're on a 5-game win streak. So I truly don't think they need Giannis. Do I think they need to replace Cat? Yeah. I just don't think they need Giannis. I think they have what it takes. They just gotta this is the season where they need to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I guess the main question I have is like, does he finally come out and say where he likes to go? Because if he just comes out and says like, here's my teams, then that's pretty much it. But we haven't gotten that yet. It's more so these are the teams that we believe based off of our sources or reporting. These are the teams we believe are in on the Giannis sweepstakes. But other than last summer, right, when it was Giannis saying, yeah, I'd like to go to the Knicks if I'm moved. Other than that, we haven't heard from him recently in terms of where he wants to go. We probably won't.
Wait,
at least not right now.
So Yarby, you made a face. You don't think the Knicks have what it takes to win right now?
No.
I think they do. No. I just think I think they do, but
Towns, he's the problem. Get him off there.
I mean, he is the problem. Dude. He
no.
We were already talking about this earlier, bro.
No, he is the problem. But realistically, they should have what it takes in an open Eastern Conference, in my opinion. Bro, like, who gives the Knicks trouble in the East right now?
Boston.
Realistically, who gives them trouble?
Boston.
Yeah, I mean, then you got problems. And if
You need to see
That's my
Tatum
point.
back, though.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm
No,
telling
you're
you
right. That's
though,
why I get.
Jaylen
Yeah,
Brown, that dude scares me, bro. I'm gonna be realistic.
yeah. Okay, fair. See, you changed my mind mid thought. I just think Jalen Brunson previous years, bro, carry this team,
Yeah,
and they have a better team now. So like,
it's true.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah, like if you're the Knicks, you shouldn't be going into the playoffs scared out of your wits that a team is going to beat the tar out of you before you make it to the East. And that doesn't mean that it won't happen. It's just going in like this is not like, oh, we have, if we're one of these other teams, we might have to go through both OKC and Denver, right? But if you're the Knicks, you should be thinking teams are going to have to go through us to come out of the Eastern Conference. And that may not be correct, but I think
Cat makes the team too vulnerable, bro.
Yeah, and then you still have to wait to see, like, you know, what these other teams do. Like, what if Detroit just comes out and gets like an MPJ, like, or you know, some type of helpful shooting player in the rotation? Like that could make them a potential.
They get Kobe White.
Yeah, like that could make them a potential favorite, right? Because like we talked about in the last episode, we think the Pistons should be buyers. Not that they should give up a ton of capital, but just could you at least get another rotational player? Because when you watch them, like even though they're number one in the East, like they do have some problems offensively. They're not a very good shooting team. They don't have a lot of additional creation, but and they're also not a destination for Giannis. But like you know, still, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the East. We also have another comment to read from our YouTube short from Lyndon Dantzler 3307, and they just said not. So this was in response to Giannis wants out. So I'm assuming this is probably a Bucks fan saying like not, like, you know, he's not going anywhere, something like that. You know, like what kids do, something like that. I'm assuming.
Bro, I feel like
yeah,
we've been beefing with Bucks fans for generations, bro. Your team is just garbage, and you're about to lose your favorite player. Don't be mad at us that you can't build a freaking contending team.
Should have listened to us going into the season.
Yeah, bro. No one's gonna talk about the Bucks in the next 2 years, bro.
Thank you. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're gonna be so irrelevant. Honestly, I'm watching them right now. They're losing by 20 to the Celtics, bro. Like this team is just so bad. It's like the free Bobby Portis and trade Giannis, get rid of Miles Turner, and yeah, go from there. Bobby Portis needs to be on Detroit, by the way, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be another team to watch. Like even if they don't trade Giannis, do they just sell a couple of guys, you know, at the deadline for maybe some desperate teams? Because like you said, a team could use a Bobby Portis or you know somebody like that. You know, well, maybe a team might talk themselves into Turner. Who knows? Maybe not because of the contract, but it's funny. But either way, that's it for today's episode of the Off Ball Takes podcast. Hopefully, we get a really good trade deadline. Of course, if you want to join in on the polls, go to @theOBT podcast. Also for more content and updates, and also continue to like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. See you next time.